The passengers whispered when she walked down the narrow aisle, her faded jeans brushing against the leather seats, her worn backpack clutched tightly to her chest. Her hair was tied in a simple bun, her shoes old and dusty from travel. She smiled politely as she searched for her seat, but most people turned their faces away. To them, she looked like she didn't belong there, too plain, too poor to be on that flight. What they didn't know was that the woman they were silently judging owned the very plane they were sitting on. A flight attendant with perfect makeup and a polished smile stopped her midway. "Excuse me, ma'am, are you sure you're on the right flight?" she asked, her tone hiding a hint of disdain. The woman nodded softly and showed her boarding pass. "Seat 14A," she said. The attendant glanced at the ticket, frowned, and then forced a smile that didn't reach her eyes. "Right, well, please hurry. You're holding up other passengers." She moved quietly to her seat, ignoring the judgmental stares. She was used to it, used to people assuming her worth by her appearance. Her name was Maya Khan, though few ever spoke it with respect. After her father passed away, she took over his shares in a major airline company. But she'd chosen to live simply, traveling anonymously, seeing the world from a perspective most of her wealthy peers never could. She believed in humility, in understanding people, in seeing life from the ground before flying too high. But today, that belief would be tested. As the plane filled, a man in a suit stopped beside her row, glaring. "This seat is taken," he said coldly. Maya looked up, puzzled. "I think you're mistaken. This is 14A, she replied calmly. The man huffed. "Impossible. They wouldn't seat someone like you in business class." His words sliced through her like a blade. The flight attendant hurried over, whispering something to him before turning to Maya. "Ma'am, I'm going to have to ask you to step outside for a moment. There's been an issue with your ticket." Maya felt her cheeks burn, her throat tighten. People were watching, recording. She could see a woman whispering into her phone camera, probably captioning it with something cruel. "Please, there's no mistake," Maya tried to say, but the attendant's voice grew sharper. "Ma'am, you need to come with me now." They escorted her off the plane in front of everyone. Some laughed. Some looked away. One man muttered, "Serves her right. These people sneak into flights all the time." The words echoed in her mind as she stood in the terminal, humiliated, holding the same ticket that gave her every right to be there. The manager approached her a few minutes later, his tone curt. "Ma'am, we're sorry, but there was a misunderstanding. However, the next flight to your destination is full." He didn't even look her in the eyes. Maya simply nodded, too tired to argue. She could have shouted, could have revealed her power. But she didn't. She had learned that true strength isn't in proving your worth to those who can't see it. It's in knowing who you are, even when the world tries to strip it away. Later that day, Maya returned quietly to her private office at Skywings Airline's headquarters. The receptionist, seeing her simple clothes, didn't realize who she was until she scanned her ID badge. The sudden shift from disbelief to shock on the receptionist's face was something Maya had seen too many times. "Good afternoon, ma'am," the woman stammered. "The board has been waiting for you." Inside the glass-walled boardroom, the very same flight attendant and manager who had humiliated her were already there, summoned for what they thought was a regular internal review. The CEO had called in Maya, the airline's majority shareholder, to oversee the session. The two froze when she entered, still wearing the same poor outfit they had mocked her for hours earlier. Maya took a seat at the head of the table. Silence filled the room. The manager blinked, recognizing her face. You're... Yes," she interrupted softly, her voice steady but heavy with emotion. "I'm Maya Khan, the woman you escorted off her own plane." No one spoke. The air seemed to freeze. The CEO looked uncomfortable. "Miss Khan, I'm so sorry. We had no idea." "That's exactly the problem," Maya said, her gaze sweeping across the room. "You didn't see me. You saw what I looked like. You saw what I wore. And you decided I wasn't worthy of respect." Her voice trembled slightly, not from anger, but from something deeper. Disappointment. "You humiliated a passenger without ever considering that she might be someone's mother, daughter, or sister. You didn't need to know who I was to treat me with kindness." Tears glimmered in the flight attendant's eyes as she whispered, "I'm sorry, ma'am." "I didn't mean—" Maya raised a hand gently. "I don't need your apology. I need you to change. Every person who steps onto one of my planes deserves respect. Whether they wear a suit or sandals, whether they carry a designer bag or a plastic one, they deserve to be treated like human beings." Her words lingered in the air long after she left the room. The next morning, the company issued a public apology and launched a new training program emphasizing dignity, empathy, and equality. But for Maya, that wasn't about damage control. It was about humanity, something she had seen too often lost in the clouds of arrogance. Weeks later, she boarded another flight. The same airline, same staff uniform, but a very different energy. The crew greeted her warmly, unaware of her identity once again. This time, a young flight attendant smiled and said, "Welcome aboard, ma'am." "Let me help you with your bag," Maya smiled back. "Thank you," she said quietly, watching as the plane lifted off into the clouds. She looked out the window, her reflection merging with the golden sky. She had everything: power, wealth, control. But all she wanted was to remind the world of something simple: that respect should never depend on appearances. People had kicked her off a plane for looking poor, but she had taught them a lesson worth more than money, and that real richness comes not from what's in your wallet, but what's in your heart. Would you like me to craft this into a cinematic voiceover script format next, with pacing, pauses, and scene cues, for a full YouTube storytelling video production style?